Hi everyone, I've put together a little video of hip stability and mobility exercises for you all to do while I'm away getting married. So all you'll need for this sequence here is a stick. So I'm using, oh sorry puppy, I'm using a long wooden stick here. If you don't have one, that's absolutely fine. It's only for a balance aid and for one mobility exercise that we will be doing. So if you don't have one, I'll be giving you options during the whole sequence. I'm also going to be using this chair here, and I would recommend having a chair that does have a fairly flat base. If it's quite squishy or soft, you won't get as much out of it and you won't be able to grip as well. So I will give you an option as well for that exercise. You can use a bench top instead if you do need to have something to hold on to. So starting off, we're going to be going into some mobility exercises. So coming up next to your chair here, and I'm going to move my chair slightly out of the way. Standing up nice and tall. So with this exercise here, I'll actually show you side on. You don't want to be bending forwards and backwards through your trunk. You actually want to be staying up nice and tall. So standing up right over the top of your pelvis and then sweep your leg forwards and backwards. So see here, I'm not leaning my trunk forwards and backwards because that's not going to give me the range that I need through my hip. So I'm sweeping, starting on my left leg, sweeping forwards and backwards, keeping my body up nice and tall. So I really want to be taking my legs straight back behind me and not opening it right out to the side towards the camera. I want to be really sweeping my legs straight back and getting a nice little stretch through the front of the hip as I sweep my leg back behind me. So keeping this up for 10 more seconds here. And then staying on this leg, I'm going to bring this leg into a nice long lunge stance. So you'll see here I'm holding onto the chair to keep myself upright, but I'm in a really long stance here. So it's more than just a normal stride, it's actually quite a lot further forwards. I'm holding onto the chair with my right hand while my left leg is forwards. Now what I'm going to do is tuck my tailbone underneath. So I'm not just immediately going to lunge into the forward leg. I'm actually going to tuck my tailbone, keeping both knees bent a little. And then when I really tuck my tailbone underneath, I actually feel a stretch through my back leg, so through my right leg here. And if you don't feel a stretch there, all you need to do is keep that tailbone tucked and bend into that front knee a little bit more. So there should be a nice stretch through the back hip. To deepen this that little bit more, I'm going to take my left arm here and bring it right up and around, doing a nice arm circle and then lowering back down. Any issues through the shoulder, you can just do a little rotation through your spine, but otherwise bringing that arm right up and around, looking at your fingertips as you bring the arm around. So this is giving you lovely mobility through your spine as well as through your hips. We'll do one more here with this left arm, circling right up and around and back down. Really good work. Straight over to the other leg now. So now I'm going to come around to the other side of the chair and I'm going to be sweeping my right leg forwards and backwards. Oh, and I'm going to move all obstacles out of the way. So now my right leg is the leg that's sweeping forwards and backwards. Really bringing that leg right out in front and then back behind me. Now I'm not letting my tailbone scoop. I'm trying to keep my pelvis as steady as possible here. So swinging that leg forwards and backwards. We'll go for about 5 more seconds here, getting some blood flow to that hip joint, the lower limb. And then I'm going to take a really nice step forwards with my right leg now. So my right leg is forwards, my left leg is back. I'm in a really long stride here. So the right leg is a long way forwards. I then scoop my tailbone underneath. So it's like I'm tucking my tail in between my legs. Both knees bend here and I sink downwards a little and I feel a stretch through the front of my back leg. From here now, I'm going to take my right arm and bring it right up and around the outside as I look towards my right fingertips. So really taking that arm right up and around, you should feel a little bit of a stretch through the front of your body. So through the front of the left hip and through that little cross chain right up to the front of the right shoulder. And remember, if that's uncomfortable for the shoulder, just do a little twist through the spine and look over your right shoulder and return. And we'll do 2. And one last one here. Beautiful work. Should feel a little bit more warmth through the hips now. So now we're going to get into our mid-spine and do a little bit of a side-to-side stretch. So I mentioned before that if you don't have a stick, I'm going to give you an option. So the option is, if you don't have a stick, you can bring one arm up overhead and bend towards the side. So you'll see here, I'm sliding my hand down the side of my body as the other arm goes right up overhead, and you can change sides. So that's option number 1. Option number 2, if you cannot reach your arms overhead, is just doing a little side to side stretch. So sliding your hands down one side, then all the way over to the other side with a nice wide gap in between your feet. And not leaning forwards here, really making sure that you're really bending from side to side, really strictly, not bending forwards. Alternatively, if you do have your stick, and one thing I will definitely recommend is make sure that you are clear of walls or fans. This has gone pear-shaped for me before. So I've got my stick right up overhead, and then I'm bending my body towards the side. So I'm really stretching right over to one side, and then I come up and over through the middle, and then stretch right over to the other side. So you'll see here I'm not leaning forwards. I'm able to look straight ahead the entire time. I'm keeping my chin slightly tucked. And when I get over to my end range, I'm feeling a really nice stretch through the side of my body. So opening up one side and then coming all the way over to the other side. So I would like to exhale as I go right over to the side. Inhale up through the middle and then exhale down to the other side. Beautiful work. When you're ready, you can pop that stick down. Now keep your stick nearby if you do need it for any of the exercises, if you need a little bit more balance support. But now I'm going to be coming up behind my seat. So I'm going to be holding onto the back of my chair. Now do make sure that you stop if any of these exercises cause any discomfort. They absolutely should not cause any pain. So you'll see here with my positioning, my knees are softened and my bottom is back behind me, and my arms are a little bit of a reach out in front of me. So I'm not really close to my seat, I'm actually taking a little bit of a step further back, and then I'm poking my bottom back towards my heels. Now starting off with my arm that's closest to the camera here, I'm going to open my chest up towards the ceiling, and then I'm going to scoop that arm right underneath my body. So I'm opening my arm all the way up towards the ceiling, and then I'm scooping that arm all the way underneath. So you'll see here my pelvis is not shifting. I'm really focusing on my mid-spine here, so through my thoracic spine. I'm trying not to rotate the pelvis, and the knees are staying completely still. They're just staying slightly bent. So this is a little thread the needle. I'm reaching my arm right here, right underneath my body, and I'm looking underneath my armpit as I come underneath. We'll do one more here, and then we'll switch sides. So when you're ready now, staying in the same position with your pelvis, taking your other arm, looking up towards your fingertips, and then scoop that arm right underneath your body as then you look towards underneath your armpit. So scooping that arm right underneath your body, and then reach that arm up towards the ceiling. And whoo, I'm getting warm. You should really focus on twisting your rib cage around your spine. So you really want to feel your ribs moving independently of your spine here. Let's go for 2. And then we're going to do one last one here. Fantastic work. Okay, I'm going to move my chair a little out of the way just so you can see what I'm doing here. Now, some of you may have shoulder issues, and if that's the case, to get your spinal extension, just hold on to opposite shoulders and do a tiny little back bend and then come back up to standing. Of course, do this near a safe surface so that you're not at risk of tripping over anything or losing your balance. If you do have the mobility through your shoulders, I'm going to bring my hands just shoulder width apart on the wall. Then I take my feet a little further back behind me, and I'm going to lower my head down in between my arms as far as I can until I feel a stretch through my shoulders. So I'm starting up really nice and tall with my hands at about shoulder height and shoulder width apart. Then I poke my bottom as far back as it'll go as I bring my head down in between my upper arms. And I'm feeling a really nice stretch through my shoulders. So this is a fantastic exercise to do, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting at the computer or sitting at a sewing machine. Activities that have us moving our arms about in front of our body for a long period of time. And we're going to do one more dynamic stretch here. So hips sit back, chest comes down, and head comes down in between 4 upper arms. And then we come all the way back up to standing. Really well done. Time to get into some strength exercises. So from here, I'm going to bring my feet just wider than hip distance apart, and my toes are spiraling outwards just a little. Now, one thing that I really want you to focus on in this movement is keeping the weight through the heels. So a lot of the time people bend their knees forward and it puts way too much load through our knee joint. So what I want you to focus on doing is bowing down as if you're picking up a heavy box off the floor with a beautiful, proud chest. Now remember, you do not have to touch the ground. That's the maximum level you would get to if you really want to push yourself. Otherwise, just make it a little squat down and then reach the arms up overhead. So poke the bottom out. Imagine that you're picking up a heavy box off the floor and then you're putting it up on a high shelf. So hips sit right back, knees spiral outwards, and then place that box up on the shelf. If your shoulders do not like this movement, reaching up overhead, just imagine you're coming up to hold the box. So sitting hips right back behind you and up to holding the box. Option is yours. You can choose whatever is suiting your body today, but really poke that bottom out and keep a proud chest. So when you're picking your box up off the floor, I want you to imagine that you could still hold a conversation with someone standing a few meters away from you. So not looking down at the ground, looking straight ahead, picking up that box and putting it up high. Let's go for 2 more. Picking the box up and overhead. 1 more, maintaining that neutral spine and placing that box up on the shelf. Really good work. Okay, so hips should be warmed up a little bit more now. Now the next few exercises are really focusing on hip stability. So if you notice that when you go to stand on one leg that your hips immediately drop, these exercises are for you. So I'm just going to make that I've got plenty of space around me here. We're not going to be swinging limbs, but you do want a little bit of room to move. So starting off, we're going to keep our feet about hip distance apart, and then I'm going to poke my bottom out. So knees not coming forwards again, just like before. I'm bending at the hip joint, so hips are sitting back, chest is proud. So I'm really keeping my chest open, but bottom goes back behind me. So with this movement here, bottom goes back, chest stays proud, and now this leg here is going to tap to the side and then return back in. Light as a feather on this leg, heavy through the heel of the stance leg. So to the side and tap back in. If you are all over the place, use a wall or use your stick. But tap and return. We're going to do only 10 more of these, so 15 total. Tap to the side, return back in, and you should feel this leg working. If you're not, check in that your knee is over the top of the ankle, that the chest is proud, you're poking your bottom out, and you should feel it working. We'll go for 4 more here. And 3, chest is proud. Don't let it collapse. Don't round that back. 2. And 1 last one here. Beautiful work. Coming up to standing, then we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So making sure feet are hip distance apart. And now I sit my hips right back behind me. Chest stays open, bottom stays back, core stays engaged. And then I tap and return. And I'm doing 15 of these. So it's like a little tap to the side and come back in. Be like a little tap dancer. Keep that chest open. Don't let your shoulders roll forwards. Open them up. Keep that chest open. Keep the core engaged. Oh, waking up a sweat in here. We'll go for 5 more. Keep that bottom back. Keep that chest proud. Leaning forwards, but chest open. And 2. And 1 last one here. Good work. Coming up to standing. Now this next one here, we're still working on those glutes, but I'll give you a little demonstration first. I'm going to go back into that same position as before, bottom right back behind me, just like this. Then I'm going to take a little step to the side and then return back to the same position. So it's a little bit more dynamic than the previous exercise, but we're going to stay low for 2 whole sets. We're going to do 10 steps, 5 to each side. So starting off when you're ready, feet are going to be hip distance apart, core is on strong, shoulders back and down. When you're ready, come and join me. I'm going to sit my hips right back behind me, keeping my chest proud. And now I step to the side and then I return. That's 2 done. We've only got 8 to go. To the side and return. To the side and return. Bottom stays back, chest stays proud. And return. And 1 more. And return. And we're going to do that 1 more time. 10 little side steps. So from here, chest stays proud, bottom goes back like you're taking a bow, but keeping eye contact with the audience. And then you're going to step to the side and return. And we're going to do that 8 more times. And return. And we go again and return, only 2 more to go. And return, bottom stays back, chest stays proud. And last one there, beautiful work. Glutes should be feeling good, so you shouldn't feel completely taxed through your glutes. You should just feel like they're a little bit more engaged than how they were when we first started. Now we're going to get a little bit more into the whole back of our body, which I often refer to as the posterior chain. So it's everything from the base of your skull to your heels. So I'm going to use my chair for this one. Now I'm going to give you a couple of options. Holding onto a higher surface like a bench top or the back of a chair, as long as it's definitely fixed, is an easier option. Alternatively, for a harder option, you can take the chair out of this altogether and come into a plank position and then bringing up opposite arm and leg. Now this is really challenging, but I always like to give you an option if you would like something a little bit more complex. So I'm going to take my chair and show you the slightly easier option. I'm going to be holding onto the back of my chair. Make sure you've got a little bit of room behind you as well so you don't kick the wall. Holding onto the back of my chair, and you'll see here I'm not in really close. I'm not tucked in. I'm walking my way back so that my spine is long, my chest is proud, and I'm in a really long plank position. And now from here, what I'm going to do is extend my opposite arm and leg. So reaching opposite arm and leg, then I place them both back down, and then I go over to the other side. So this is balance and stability. So my shoulders and hips should not be moving. They should be pointing straight ahead and not shifting off course, not pointing out to the sides. So opposite arm and leg lift. Now if you look at my trunk here where my singlet is sitting over, my singlet is not bowing or arching in either direction. I'm really keeping everything nice and stable so that my opposite arm and leg can be moving from a stable base. You can see here I'm a bit shaky because I'm using every little muscle in my body to lift and lower opposite arm and leg. Don't be surprised if your whole core heats up with these exercises. They are good ones. Really good exercises for a strong, capable body. Go for 2 more, and we'll do one last one here. Really, really good work. Fantastic work. Okay, nearly at the end here. I'm going to turn around my chair here, just because I feel like holding onto the seat of my chair is a little bit more stable. So holding onto the seat of my chair means that my chair is not going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. So here I'm finding a plank position again. Now this is the more challenging option, or you could be on the floor of course in a plank position, but for a slightly easier option, just walk the feet in a little more so that your feet are flat on the ground, but your bottom should still be back, not all the way forwards. So making sure that you're in a nice strong plank position, whichever option you choose. And now from here, without letting your little hips dip all over the place, keep those hips still, tap your arm or your hand to your opposite shoulder and then place that hand back down. Now we go over to the other side, tap the shoulder, place the hand back down. So this is a lot of upper body stability here. I'm trying to stay as quiet and stable as possible through my upper body as I alternate these shoulder taps. So one side, tap that hand back down, and now the other side. Elbows always stay softened, not locked. So I should always be able to wiggle those little elbows, making sure nothing else is shifting. We'll go for 4 and 3. Draw that belly button into your spine. 2 and 1 last one here. Beautiful. Okay, we've only got one more exercise to do. So when you are ready, take your chair, take a seat on top of the chair, and then from here, now this is really important with your spinal stability, and I'll scoot forwards a little bit just so you can see me a little better. I'm going to sit up really nice and tall, and then I'm going to bow forwards over my thighs. Now if you see here, I'm not rounding my back. I'm not scooting up into a little tiny ball. I'm keeping my chest proud, but my belly is coming towards my thighs. So belly to thighs, but proud chest, arms down by my sides, and then my arms open right up and back behind me, and then come back down. So I am squeezing my shoulder blades together and then coming back down. I'm just going to turn a little bit more so you can see me that little bit better. I'm bowing down, proud chest, arms open and back behind me, and then lower back down. So I'm focusing on this movement coming from my shoulder blades. My belly is towards my thighs, my chest is open, and my arms like wings are opening all the way back, shoulder blades squeeze together and then lower back down. Now if this hurts your shoulders, you can sit up tall and then sweep the arms back, squeezing shoulder blades together, then return forwards. So this is a really good option as well. But if you are taking on the challenging option, Thumbs are going to the ceiling, shoulder blades squeeze together. So not palms to the outside, we're doing palms facing towards the wall in front of you, and then lower back down. We'll go for 4 more. Squeeze shoulder blades together and then lower, and 3, and lower, and 2, and 1 last one here. Beautiful work, everyone. And now when you are ready, coming up to seated, and we're going to do a little stretch to finish off. So I'm going to sit up nice and tall, and I'm just gently going to twist all the way to one side, holding onto one thigh, and then twisting all the way to the other side, holding on to the other thigh, and then into a little back bend, chest to ceiling, and then fold forwards again, and then chest to ceiling, open up through your chest, and if you can, if your shoulders will allow for it, bring those arms to the ceiling, and then circle those arms all the way back down and around. And everyone, I hope you enjoyed that little session and you're feeling a little bit more limber and awake through your body. And I will look forward to seeing you when I get back from my honeymoon. Have a lovely few weeks. Bye.